So, hello and welcome to yet another episode of the Privacy Pros video series. This is an initiative by the SCI Circle. SCI stands for Privacy and Security Innovators Circle. As a part of this initiative, we published an ebook with articles written by leading privacy experts. We are also doing a series of short interviews with them about their articles. And I have one such expert with me today. His name is Jonathan Wilde. Jonathan has worked at companies like Clubhouse and Meta in the past. So, welcome, Jonathan. It's a pleasure to have you here today. And for the benefit of our audience, could you please start by giving a quick introduction of yourself and your work?
First of all, thank you so much for having me here today.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Jonathan. I'm a software engineer and engineering manager that's led privacy engineering initiatives at social media companies, small and large, all the way from executive buy-in and strategy, all the way down to implementation. I write a newsletter entitled Real World Privacy with best practices and approaches around this available at jwilde.me.
Awesome. So thanks, Jonathan. So you've written an article in our ebook that's titled Deletion from Startup to Scaleup. And it talks specifically about, the right to be forgotten or, any data subject's right to demand that their data be erased. Now, we know that GDPR has always had some guidelines around this, but we're seeing that, this particular law is being adopted in a lot of other places as well. Even in the US, it's being considered in a lot of states other than just California. So in your own words, can you tell us a little bit about, why you think it's important and what in particular, compelled you to write about this specific topic?
Absolutely. So deep down inside, I've always loved startups, always loved entrepreneurships. My parents were entrepreneurs. And there's not a ton of privacy literature out there that's really focused on startups. This chapter in Privacy Applied, Interactive, Innovative aims to fill that gap. And data deletion, as we talked about, is really the focus of the chapter. I focus the chapter on this because data deletion is one of the first, if not the first, privacy considerations that engineers building a new startup app are going to face. First of all, consumers expect to be able to delete their data. It's a little disconcerting if you create a new image or new document in a product, and then you're like, wait, why can't I delete this? I didn't want this here anymore. They expect to be able to delete their account, and there's more enforcement on this than ever. So you mentioned GDPR, but even beyond that, Apple App Store review now requires this. If you can sign up through the app, Apple requires you, in many ways going above and beyond what the laws are requiring, to provide a way in the app that's really nice and easy to delete your account through the app. And they won't let you launch without that nowadays. And there's even this one TikTok clip of an entrepreneur. He's excited to launch his Apple App Store app and then gets blocked saying, hey, you need this delete button. And what actually walks his viewers through that TikTok clip on how to set up deletion in their product with something like Firebase, which I think is really indicative of what we're talking about. And as your business scales, deletion is something that gets continuously tuned and scaled and evolved as your organization grows. And so this chapter, Deletion from Startup to Scale Up, explores this evolution and gives engineers useful thought frameworks as they work with their legal counsel and policy teams if they're a little larger to design, implement, and scale deletion in their product as their startup grows.
Perfect. I mean, you touched a lot about, just why this is important and how it's becoming relevant, for everyone. But you've also mentioned in your article, you've written extensively about, kind of having a framework around how organizations can start implementing this. But I'm just curious, what has your experience been like so far, in the field? What are the kind of challenges that organizations face when they try to implement this kind of framework?
So I think the key to thinking about data deletion is that it's rarely one size fits all. And it will go on to affect almost every corner of your organization. And in the article, we talk a lot about having a strategy around this and being really thoughtful around how you're approaching this holistically around your organization. And the way that you go to implement your deletion strategy will honestly vary a lot by your stage of growth. When you're first starting out, the challenges are often more ideological. Like, what's the right strategy at all around this? What are the things that we want to apply pseudonymization to versus hard delete, and how do we want to think about that? And as you grow a lot larger, the strategy challenges become significantly more operational. How do you keep that strategy going as you have more and more and more people at the organization? It's also hugely dependent on your sector as well. If you're in finance and you're starting a banking product in the United States, there's likely anti-money laundering records that your general counsel is going to tell you, look, we need to keep this, even if they close their account. And if you're in consumer products, your users might expect some pretty granular controls to be able to delete their data. If you're thinking of a document product, I certainly am going to expect to be able to delete a document that I created in the product as a consumer. And so you'll need to make sure that your deletion strategy encompasses what are the different legal expectations that you're hearing from your general counsel, as well as from a product perspective, just what are your customers going to expect in order to be really happy customers with the product?
Right. So one, keeping your customer expectations in mind, or two, keeping in mind, the stage that you're at, whether it's a pretty small startup or, like a pretty sophisticated large scale organization, keeping that in mind. And, just like you mentioned now, just keeping in mind the challenges or the nuances that come with your own specific domain. These are like three things that really drive what deletion strategies are adopted by most organizations. Am I right?
Exactly. And even like internal teams are going to have expectations around the way that you manage your data deletion, even beyond the sort of external expectations. For example, data analytics teams are going to have some questions about, wait, so how do I perform a historical analysis if consumers are deleting their data? And so it's important to make sure to pick a deletion approach that makes sure that you're able to support the business stakeholders while still honoring the rights of your consumers and the expectations of your consumers.
That does make sense. Okay, that brings me to my last question, which is basically you've spoken about the challenges, and do you have, overall any kind of advice for your colleagues or organizations out there that are just starting out? Any last piece of advice that you would like to give them?
Absolutely. Data deletion or any privacy strategy really that touches the whole company shouldn't be designed in a silo. You really want to approach this collaboratively with the other leaders in your organization. Don't just say, hey, here's the deletion strategy we're doing, because that likely won't be received very well. Go around and actually don't sell the solution right away. Sell the problem to different leaders in your organization first, who will have their teams impacted in different ways by that strategy, or who will want to give input. And ask them, hey, here's the problem that we're having. How would you solve this? And don't pitch a solution too early. At the core, you're going to get some really fast feedback on, are you explaining the privacy problem or the privacy concept the right way to them? You'll build some shared awareness right away around the importance of the work. And when it comes to the strategy and implementation on it, you'll likely get a bunch of ideas that you may not have previously thought of that might be more robust or easier to implement than your first approach. And this leads to getting a better privacy strategy that incorporates the nuance of all the different corners of your organization, has more buy-in, and is potentially easier to execute because it's a shared project that you're all working on together, rather than this mandate that's coming out of one corner of the organization. Thank you so much for having me here today, and definitely take a moment to check out Privacy Applied Interactive Innovative. It's an incredible resource for engineers, legal, and policy teams in the privacy space.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. Thank you so much. One, for giving us the time to do this interview, and of course for writing the article itself. This was just for our audience members. This was a very small snippet around the chapter that Jonathan has written. In general, I would highly recommend you guys to read his article at the latest ebook. It's extremely detailed. It provides a very nice framework for data deletion. It has lots of examples and guidelines that can be adopted by any organization, based on different sizes that they are or stages that they're currently in. So it's extremely insightful. So thank you so much, Jonathan. And along with his article, we also have lots of other great articles in the ebook. So please do check out our latest ebook. I would also encourage all of our viewers to follow, the Privacy, Security, and Innovators Circle page on LinkedIn. And of course, if you are curious about what Lightbeam does, which is, data privacy, innovation, and security, please go check out our website, which is Lightbeam.ai, and stay tuned for more such content. Thank you so much.